Grown Folks Production.
In the mix.
With the commish, Nate.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Press Pass Live, your weekly OMFL podcast show. We're getting a little technical difficulties, but it's okay. We're going to work our ways right through it. Let me welcome in my two guests for tonight, Mr. Big Hurt of the Minnesota Vikings, Mr. Trey of those Washington Commanders. Fellers, how are we doing tonight?
Doing pretty good, coming off a quick off season and getting right into the thunder of the OMFL season.
Right into the thunder. Big Hurt, how are you, bud?
Doing pretty well.
Let me send a little message. Mr. Big Hurt is a man of many words. He is tired. He has had a long day. Trey, I know, has had a frustrating afternoon as EA said, no, you can't play your game. We're not going to let you do that. So we'll see if we can't get through it tonight. I forgot to get the chat going. I'm sitting here jumping all the steps. Mr. Maniac is sick and not feeling well. What's up, Bill? And let me get this over here. And then our buddy Dwayne had to work tonight. There was a chance I might have flown solo, so I am scrambling here for some weird reason. Fellas, we're going to get this thing going with just some opening thoughts. I'm just looking for reasons to give points away here tonight. I'm in a point giving away mood, so we'll see exactly how this goes. Mr. Trey, why don't you get us going with some opening thoughts?
I mean, we're halfway through week 2, and I think we have already the biggest upset in OMFL history. Nate, what happened in week 1? Would you like to enlighten us? Like, you went in against a early draft picked round D-Money, and you beat him.
I did.
Like, whoa.
I did. Let me just send this little message right here. What's up, Nice Singer? I made a comment during my stream that I don't care if he is no limiting soldiering me. I will take the win if I can get it. And I got a message back saying, what does no limiting a season mean? And I mean, look it up, No Limit Records. And if you look that up or don't know, or if you know what that is, then you'll get it right away. I took it. We had to do a little comeback. Good luck to everybody that's got to play him. That guy has speed everywhere. So does Bird. Opening the season against the champion and a guy that's one of the most champions in the history of the OMFL. Not a fun way to start the season for a team that won 5 games last season, but that is what the schedule dealt me, and that's what we're dealing with. Mr. Big Hurt, give me some opening thoughts here, buddy.
Just kind of looking at some of the stats and some of the early, records. Seeing some teams that I did not think that would start off 0-2 or winless are sitting at 0-2. And then there's just some, the Browns played pretty efficient football last year and made their run to the OMFL Bowl. And Dwight Nowick is off to a 9 touchdowns but 7 interceptions. Ooh. That's a lot of picks. But he's got the touchdowns to go with it, and he's airing it out because he's leading the OMFL with 751 yards passing so far through 2 weeks. So it looks like the Chargers are back on track as well because they are 1-1, but Justin Herbert is number 2 in passing with 725 yards, 7 touchdowns, 4 picks. And then we got Danny McDimes, still hot, 716, 9 touchdowns, 2 picks. I do think the DBs are playing a little bit better with the abilities back on. And so I like to see that. But, just, happy to be playing games again.
Me too. I actually find the DBs are playing worse. It's funny how we all perceive this game just a little bit different. Let's look at week number 1 in our 2-minute drill. Vikings and Lions. Your Vikings, I got to watch most of this game, come away with a 24-13 victory over Tim. The Colts and Randy beat up on Nysanger and the Jacksonville Jaguars 31-3. This actually was a pretty close game until we got closer to halftime, and then Nysanger just could not stop throwing the ball as interceptions and wouldn't stick to the run. And the Colts ended up running away with that one. Mr. Nipples and the Ravens win against Bill and his Giants 24-17. Got to watch some of this game. The Ravens just sort of overpowered that one. Penguins and the Pittsburgh Steelers win 24-3 against Fleury. Dallas and Dwayne with a 16-7 victory over the champion Bird and the Carolina Panthers. Kevin with a nice win here to open up week number 1, 23-7 against Priest. Jets and Cleveland, talk about interception points galore. Cincyberg with a 41-24 victory over Denver. Houston and Chicago, man, look at this game. Colin wins 42-41 against Roger in a classic game. Trey talked about my game, 24-23 over D-Money. Meat Boy and the Seattle Seahawks are just scoring points galore here to open up the season. 49-21 against our buddy, Mr. Maniac, who has fallen to 0-2, but don't worry, he's going to bounce back. Arizona Cardinals with a shocking win, 41-9 against Massimo. Cincinnati, get all the words out, and Little Koch with a 42-17 victory over Jay Bows. Lost Sniper bouncing back to open up this season on the road with a nice victory, 38-15 over Crazy B-Man. Mr. Luca with a 42-35 victory over Mile High. Jay Glaze and the Denver Broncos, a team that surprised everyone and got the number 1 seed last season. So big time victory there for Luca. Mr. Trey here with a 35-14 dominating performance against the Philadelphia Eagles. I tuned in early to this one because I wanted to see that rookie quarterback, and what I seen was just a dominating performance from those Washington Commanders. And then finally, we wrap up this week with a Logan victory, 45-42 over Kobe, who's still trying to find his way. Trey, we're going to open up with you. What was the most fascinating game for you this week? Let's talk about it.
The most fascinating game for me had to go down to the Houston-Chicago game. Colin was a top guy coming into the playoffs. Got ousted. I think it was in the second round of the playoffs he got ousted. And we all love Raj. Raj usually has some struggles, but the fact that he was able to go up and compete with one of the best in the league and come just that short is an impressive statement. Forcing Caleb Williams to throw 2 interceptions. Yes, he threw for 330 yards and 3 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions from Colin is a pretty nice feat. You got Juan Austin, the 4th-year running back, goes in, finds the end zone 3 different times. That's an impressive feat. You have DeAndre Swift for Colin, purely taking over the defense. 14 carries for 112 yards and 2 touchdowns. Those are impressive stats. But it really comes down to the receiving game. You have Colin, who has Cole Kmet and Romaduze each with 5 receptions. Romaduze has 143 yards and a touchdown. Cole Kmet has 103 yards and a touchdown. Versus, the lo and behold legendary Brandon DeMarco being the only 100-yard receiver for the Texans.
I'm sitting here staring at my buttons trying to figure out which one to press. My goodness, I had a moment there. You ever just find yourself in a moment and you start panicking? That was me. It was like, why can't I find this button that I need to press? Anyway, Mr. Big Hurt, what was the most fascinating game for you to open up the season?
There's 2 games that really that caught my eye. Cowboys-Panthers matchup was a fun one just because it was a defensive battle, and really both teams struggled offensively. But I'm going to go with the game that I actually got to watch, and I don't get a lot of time to sit down and watch games right now with my schedule. But I did get to peek in on this one and got to watch the majority of it, and it was the Bucks versus the Packers. Tampa Bay comes out with a 23-7 win, and the way Priestis built this Packers team, I anticipated him to light up the scoreboard, and Kevin finds himself back in charge. He picks off Rex Manning and the Packers quarterback 7 times, and the Bucks kind of put themselves back in the win column. And to start off this season, I think Kevin's got some confidence, and hopefully we see that continue. Maybe not for you on your Saints, but I just think Kevin, when he was competing, it was just felt like it was a better league and, division and all, even with Bird winning the bowl last season. But it just, Kevin's ran the ball well, had 20 carries with Hopkins for 87 yards. But he, just played solid defense. And finding things about defense, that's just what I like. And so this game was a fun one to watch. And I actually complimented Kevin on his play just because it just seemed like Priest couldn't get things going, and he played really good football.
I agree with you. That was a really nice victory in week number 1. Taking down a little bit more to reality in week number 2 as he faced those San Francisco 49ers. But, hey, that happens to the absolute best of us. I am trying to change my ink over. It seems like if it could go wrong here tonight, it is going wrong. That is the way the world kind of throws at you sometimes. I don't know why, but this ink will not come out of this stupid little box I got it in. I want to look at week number 2, so let me break down a couple of games left. Actually, guys are moving through the season pretty well. I got to commend everybody. I know that this week seems to have given some issues. You can see Commanders and Ravens 3 times, Rams and Cardinals 2 times, and even the Bears and Lions had to play 2 different times. So I don't know what's going on, but looks like something that's a little out of our control. Titans and Colts yet to play, or maybe they're playing right now. I'm not quite sure. I think they're a tomorrow game, if I remember correctly. The Giants bounce back after a tough week 1. Bill gets a nice victory, 31-22 over Little Koch. Your Vikings with another dominating performance. Looks like Twinkie, though, starting to figure out some of that offense over there. He comes away with a 31-20 victory against those Twinkie-led Eagles. I don't know why I want to say Birds 100 different times, but that didn't come out. Commanders and Ravens, is that one done? Are we not going to be able to play that one? Or we're going to try again tomorrow? What are we thinking, Trey?
I believe there's not going to be a working time frame, so it's a sin.
Yeah, that sucks, especially since you guys tried so many times. One DC is enough to make you want to pull your hair out. 3 DCs make you throw your PlayStation right outside of the window. The Houston Texans and Roger comes away with a 44-32 victory over Jay Bowles and the Raiders. The Raiders yet to play some defense so far this year. I hope that keeps up next week, as that's my opponent. Bird with a dominating victory against my Saints. Just speed, athleticism, dominating defensive performance. He made no mistakes. Just good luck to everybody that's got to play Carolina. Packers and Cowboys, I think that one's going down tomorrow night. Priest asked me if I would like to try to call that one. I'm going to do my best. I don't know if I can. It's a weird time for me, but we'll see. San Francisco and D-Money bounces back with a 30-7 victory over Tampa Bay. And Kevin, it's that turning the ball over thing. If you don't stop turning the ball over, you're going to lose big games here. Cardinals and Rams tried to play twice. I don't know what the update is there. Luka with a second week in a row big-time victory, 37-35 over Nysanger, but Nysanger started to find something in this game and get some good momentum. Just not long ago, Pittsburgh and Penguins with a 31-20 victory over Maniac and the Bills. Just give it time. Maniac's going to bounce right back. Logan had a great week 1, but loses here in week 2 to those upstart Broncos, 24-17. Jake Lays with a really nice win there. And then something happened with Denbrew and Lost Sniper. They hit each other up and said, hey, let's not play any defense. And they were like, cool, bet, let's go. Cleveland and Denbrew comes away with a 56-41 victory over Lost Sniper. Seattle, I got to watch some of this one. Meek Boy, a 37-22 victory over Fleury. Fleury's just got such big play potential. It's just those Seattle Seahawks are just a well-oiled machine. Colin with a nice victory in back-to-back weeks here. 24-17 over Tim and his Lions. Tim needing to find himself. A couple tough games here to start this season. And then Cincyberg continues to flex on the league. 41-34 over Massimo and those Dolphins. Mr. Big Hurt, we're coming to you first. What stuck out to you this week?
I'm going to go with the Browns and the Patriots. And I just think it's quite ironic that Denver 1 week throws 7 picks, comes back the next week, throws 7 touchdowns. something just seems off. But or five picks and then 7 touchdowns. But I mean, still, that's a lot of passing in a good way and a lot of passing in a negative way. If you're an offensive coordinator, offensive coach, you're kind of scratching your head and like, we got to clean this up. But at the same time, we're doing something right. He throws for almost 500 yards. And then obviously on the other end, Rusty Starr, which we've seen success from. He throws for 290 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. But it's just the air attack from the Browns is just dominant. And the rushing game was pretty split, balanced, but really Jimmy Stevenson was the guy that led the category there for the Patriots with 9 carries, 100 yards. But man, oh man, Stephen Bayless, 8 catches, 292 yards, and 4 tutties. That is a day for Mr. Bayless. And then on the same team, David and Jamie had 102 yards and 2 touchdowns. If this is the type of team we're going to see from Denver, watch out, Cincy, everybody else in the AFC, because when he puts up points, he's a scary, scary, scary team.
Yeah, we've seen him do that in the bowl game. I still remember the seam route as that game was coming to a close to Njoku set up an opportunity for him to tighten that game up. He just has big play potential everywhere. Dakota, I don't know why I said Dakota. It's Dwayne, but I read his name on YouTube as Dakota. Dwayne, that's points. I know you haven't got to watch the show in a bit because you've been traveling and life has kept you busy, but we give away points. It's supposed to be a showdown down to one person who wins the whole show, and then they get to make their point. I guess I should open every show with that as people are still learning. Dwayne was like, why is there a dinging noise that keeps going off? Trey, we're coming to you. What stuck out to you here in week number 2 with a couple games left to play?
First, with the live update with 6.5 to go, the Colts are driving on the 16-yard line with a 35-28 lead. But in terms of my key points of so far what we've seen, it has to be with the Jets this week versus Miami. The second straight week in a row, they put up 41 points. That's diabolical if you think about it, because you're going to have to play defense. Because if you don't, you need at least 42 points to win. Because he's putting up 41 every week so far.
It's nuts.
Danny McDimes, 448 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception, only getting sacked once. 72% completion percentage is ridiculous. And that's also coming off of Jimmy Blanco, rookie quarterback. 413 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks, but sacked 3 times for Miami. Josh Jacobs leading the carries with 11 with 75 yards. No rushing touchdowns in this game, so all touchdowns came via either the pass or other means. But yeah, it's showing since he's locked in, ready to go. He might be the top contender right now out of the AFC just in the first 2 weeks. A little too early to say, but he looks to be the front runner to make the run for the OMFL Bowl in the AFC, in my opinion.
I absolutely agree. We got a tie game here after round 1, 17 apiece. Let's look at what we're betting on in week 3, 4, and 5. Going to give you one game to bet on. Who do you think is going to win this game? Here's our matchups in week number 3. We got all the way to the tippy top. Big Hurt versus Kobe. We got Penguins versus Little Koch. It's even though the names are written right here, it's hard to just try to off the top of my memory flow with it. Twinkie versus Kevin, Tim versus Randy, Luca versus Roger. That's going to be a fun one. Both of those guys know how to score points. Nipples versus Lost Sniper. Colin versus Bill. That's going to be a classic NFC ground and pound, good defensive game. With the same team we just finished talking about, Cincyburg going to go play Maniac. Let's see if Maniac can get that team back on track. Priest is going to play Massimo. Meek versus D-Money, the first big matchup. Let's see which one of these guys can come out on top. We got Crazy B-Man versus Trey. J-Bows versus me and my Saints. We got Bird versus Jay Glaze. That could be a really, really good one. Joker versus Fleury. That could be a really fun one. Dwayne versus Denver. That could be a really fun one. A lot of really fun games here. And then finally, Logan versus Nicesonger. Coming to you first, Trey. What are you betting on here in week number 3?
The game I'm betting on to be the most entertaining, I think, is going to be Meek and D-Money. That's just a shootout of a rivalry. But if I had to put a bet on anybody to guaranteed win a week, As much as me and Flurry have past history, and Joker I have past history. Yeah, I'm leaning Joker this one because Joker's got the puzzle pieces for his offense, the exact style he needs, and rookie wide receiver Gary Tyson is going to be a problem. And I just don't think in the first 2 weeks of the season that Flurry's got a defense that's going to be able to contain him, let alone slow him down enough to win a game.
I absolutely agree. I'm hearing a couple of themes come out of Arizona. We're liking to blitz and user the defensive tackle, kind of getting insta shed pressure on you from both the blitz and the user defensive tackle. And I'm being told the same, I would say, for the 49ers. Those 99 speed, 99 acceleration rookies, they're a bit of a problem, fellas. Go ahead and buckle up for that one. Big Hurt, what are you betting on here in week number 3?
I'm going to go ahead and bet the trend that stays the same for week 1 and 2. We're going to have points scored in week 3. And I just look at some of these matchups and I just see a lot of points being scored. And I think the one that's going to be interesting for me is the Lions and the Colts, just because I feel like Tim's going to put a lot of pressure on himself. Being that he started 0-2, he's kind of made a quarterback change. He announced he picked up my former quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, and has benched Fargus, who has been his quarterback, that he's made some playoff push and runs these last couple of seasons. So it's interesting to see them making that move. But he is 0-2, but he's got the Colts, which is not an easy team. And if he goes to 0-3, I feel like he mentally is just feels like that's just too big of a hole. But I also think, like you said, the Chiefs and the Texans are going to be lighting up the scoreboard. The Bears and the Giants, one game that's weird. I think they're both defensive teams, but I think this game could be points. And then there's a couple other games down the road. The Cowboys-Browns game would be a really interesting one. How D. Wayne's defense matches up against that heavy passing attack. But again, with his defensive pass rush, does that slow down that passing attack?
I think that's going to be an all-time classic game. Let's see. It's defense versus offense, it's for sure. In week number 4,
before we continue, Nate, big plays alerts in the Colts and Titans game. On a 4th and 16, with down by 10, Kobe converts and then throws a bomb to get within inside the 10-yard line. Down by 10.
Down by 10. Kobe's got that fight in him. I'm looking for him not only to fight through life right now, no throwing him a curveball, but fight here in the OMFL. Week number 4, we got Roger versus Penguins. We got Nipples versus Massimo. Twinkie versus Little Koch. D-Money versus Flurry. Flurry, a couple tough games here back to back. D-Wayne versus Bill. Jay Glaze versus Randy. Bird versus Kevin. Let's see if Kevin's not ready to disappear after that one. Priest versus Kobe. Luca versus Logan. Trey versus Denbrew. Nicesonger versus Jay Bowles. This might be a game of no-win teams here in week number 4. My Saints versus Tim and his Lions. Cincyberg versus Joker. We might have 150 points scored in this game. Big Hurt versus Colin. Maniac versus Lost Sniper. 2 big offenses Maniac's got in back-to-back weeks here. And Meat Boy versus Crazy to wrap up the week. Big Hurt, what are we betting on in week number 4?
I'm betting on there to be some 0-4 teams. But I'm also betting on the tanking to begin because or just, I don't know, I want to say tanking, but I feel like if some teams are getting too far behind by week 4, 5, 6, you're going to see some lack of engagement on some teams' part. And I hope not. I hope I'm wrong. But I think this is the beginning part of that. And I think there's some big games this week as well, too. And just could be, as we look back, could be yeah, that was a big game for this one. And then Cowboys, Giants in that division, the Broncos, Colts, that could be a big one. We talk about the Logan and Lucas had some success early on. That could be a big one. The game that I really like in this week 4 matchup is actually the Commanders and the Browns. Just the way Trey plays and the Browns the way the Browns offense and stuff is. Like, I really just like that matchup. But yeah, like I already said, points galore in the Jets Cardinals game. So there's some fun games, but like I said, I just um, hope for sure that I'm wrong on the whole disengagement or lack of engagement, just because we are in a final season and I'd like to finish strong.
You never know around him. All kinds of weird things can start happening, especially here early in the season. Mr. Trey, what are we betting on in week number 4?
First, another live update. After Kobe was held to a field goal, Dalton Kincaid busts a 68-yard touchdown to go up by 4.
And that's Buffalo Bill there.
But I definitely one game that I'm putting all my money into. Whatever the heck the over is, I'm putting it on Arizona and the Jets game. Cincy and Joker both have high-powered offenses, and I think that you might be correct. We might have a 150-point game because I think that might go like 80 to 79 at this point because of just how high-powered those offenses are. So all of my money will be going into the over on wherever the scoreline is for that game because those two offenses and their lack of apparent defenses in some games, it's going to be ridiculous.
I absolutely agree. Coming into the last week here that we're looking at, week number 5, what are we betting on? We got Seahawks versus Jets, Meat Boy versus Cincyburg. That's going to be a barn burner. Let's see who wants to play defense in that one. Kevin plays my Saints. D-Money versus Twinkie. That might get ugly. That's two teams going in opposite directions. Tim versus Nicesonger. D-Wayne versus Colin could be a fun one. Randy versus Kobe, which is currently happening, right? Like that's the game that's happening right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is part 2 of that one. Nipples versus Little Koch. Crazy versus Bird. Talking about two teams going opposite directions. Roger versus Logan. Massimo versus Lost. Jay Bowles versus Jay Glaze. I always stumble on that. The Buddy Bowl happening here in week number 5. Maniac versus Joker. Boy, Maniac, this is murder's row of offenses you got going here. Flurry versus Luca. Penguins versus Denbrew, Big Hurt versus Trey. You two guys, I know what I'm betting on. And then finally, Bill versus Priest. Coming to you, Trey. What are we betting on in week number 5?
It's going to be the common trend here. We go from Cincy in his NFC West matchup versus the Cardinals to now the Seahawks. Give me the over on points again because, once again, two high-powered offenses and two team fences that are at best some days, and sometimes they're locked down. It's going to be great. It's going to be a chess match, and I feel like this is another one that has projection to be 150 points or more.
I absolutely agree. It could be just watching these offenses, when we get to this point in the cycle, we're talking about probably the most 90s players that you'll ever have, unless you just start with a superstar team. You've got your rhythm down. You've got speed at playmakers. It's just like when you play, as I have here, the 49ers, the Panthers, the Jets, the Card, like it's just speed and athleticism everywhere, and it's really, really tough to face off against. Big Hurt, coming back to you. What are we betting on here in week number 5?
Well, Maniac, I'm sorry, but I'm betting on your blood pressure to be pretty damn high because week 3, 4, and 5, you got some stressful games, some stressful offenses, and knowing you, I know that you read into like in game prep and game plan pretty well, but like there's a lot to go into having to game plan against some of these offenses. And we just talked about, the Cardinals, the Patriots, and the Jets being able to put up some points. I think if I know what I know, and if I'm a betting man, it's you're either going to figure things out and get this ship turned in the right way, or you're going to be a very, very grumpy man after week 5. And it's unfortunate that you have that stretch because that's a pretty rough stretch of 3 offenses. But I also want to point out the one game that I am looking forward to in week 5, and it's just two powerhouses that have like shown their dominance here as of late, and that's the Cowboys Bears matchup. I'm really looking forward to that one just to see with the abilities back on. Colin's been, pretty well established now these last two seasons. D Wayne's always there, and I think this Week 5 early matchup really show a lot about these two teams for this season, and I do like seeing that matchup how it'll play out.
We got a 31-28 lead here for Big Hurt over Trey. We're coming into our special topic, and we always know what it is right here. We're going to go prediction season. So you guys are going to have 30 seconds for each division as we go through this. Just give me your division winner. Give me your comments on the division. And at the end, we're going to get your prediction of who is in the bowl game for this next season, our last one, season 115. So let's go ahead and get this thing started here with the AFC North. We got Penguins and the Steelers at 2-0, Nipples and the Ravens at 1-0. The same guy we've been talking a ton about tonight, Denver and the Browns at 1-1, Little Koch and the Bengals at 1-1. Trey, we're going to start with you here. Who's your division winner?
First of all, game is officially wrapped. Colts beat Titans 45-31.
Tons of points.
To go into the AFC North, I think we're seeing a revitalized Penguins. He's seemed to have found his final footing here in the go home stretch of the Madden 25 cycle. And what better time to do it? It plays into a question we'll get later. But I feel like this is going to be his division to lose. He's found his pieces that he needed to get this offense. I think it's not going to be an easy win, though. I definitely think that Nipples and the Ravens and Denver and the Browns will put the pressure on him. I'm not so confident that Koch will stick with the momentum and keep rolling. He's showing off a loss this week, but he did have a great performance in week 1. But I definitely see it being the Steelers' division to lose.
What a weird stat here. Just 2 weeks in, 80 points scored by the Browns, 82 points given up. Coming over to you, Mr. Big Hurt. Who wins the AFC North?
Well, for me, I think obviously the Steelers are 2-0, but I'm going to have to go with the Browns winning this division. The Browns have figured out some things. They showed that last year, making a bull run. And yes, 82 points allowed is a lot, but when you look at the two teams he's played the Jets and the Patriots, and when those guys are on, and they can score a lot of points against anybody. Danny McDimes and Rusty Starr are usually top 5 quarterbacks in the league. Maybe top 10 for sure, but like I said, stretch probably top 5, barring that Starr is healthy, obviously. But those two quarterbacks can air it out to the best of anybody with those owners too. And so I don't really look too much into that. It's definitely a stat, but I think that'll balance out as the season goes along here. Offensively, he's putting up 80 points, which is a pretty crazy number as well. That's 40 points a game here. And most of the time when you're putting up 40 points, you're going to win a lot of games. So Denver's going to be the winner for me in this division. I do think the Steelers have figured some things out and are in a better place than they've been. And I think they've just been waiting to turn the corner. But I think they've got a tough matchup going up against the Browns. And I like the Bengals as well, but I just think that the Bengals are behind the curveball with the dominance passing attack, and then defensively the Browns are still pretty solid too. But he's got the tight end and he's got a couple of receivers there in Cleveland that just make it really tough to defend.
Nipples is going to be interesting. It's going to be a fun division to see what he can do. Let's go over to the AFC South. I'm going to go Big Hurt and then Trey. Colts and Randy just moved to 2-0. He just finished up a big-time victory, playing some great defense over there in Indianapolis. Roger and his Texans at 1-1. Nicehunger and those Jaguars having a hard time getting things going, but it looks like he gained some confidence this past week, even in a loss. He's sitting at 0-2. And then Titans and Kobe sitting at 0-2. Big Hurt, who wins the AFC South?
I mean, I got to go with the Colts. It's the Colts division. I mean, this 76 points is a lot of points, We know the Texans can score points. We know the Titans can play good football. The Jags are kind of figuring things out, but it's just not consistent enough. So I think the Jags are going to be the one odd team out for me right now, just because they got to find the consistency of things. Kobe just hasn't been the Kobe that we all know. And I think, again, we've talked about it. Life is full bore for him right now, but he's also trying to figure some things out with his team. But giving up 90 points is just not Kobe type of football. And so I think that right there is just a stat for me to kind of scratch him out. The Texans can definitely win. He had us push last year. He figured some things out. He's been playing really good football. But the key statistic is defense wins championships. And when defense is there, you have a good chance of winning things. And I think that's what, again, is going to come down to for me is Randy and the Colts. When he needs to make a stop, he's proven that he can get that stop. But he's also putting up a lot of points. And he's also a guy that has a little bit of experience making playoff runs and being in the playoffs. So I think I just got to go with the guy that's been there, done it, and is doing it right now on the defensive side of things. So I go with the Colts winning the South.
Love it. What up, Raider gang? Thanks for checking us out. We're talking OMFL. You want to find out what the OMFL is? We got the details down in the description. Trey, coming over you. Who wins the AFC South?
I definitely agree. It's definitely a two-horse race between the Colts and the Texans. But the one stat that has me picking Randy over Roger, the Colts started the season off with 2 divisional games. They are 2-0. That is going to be a key factor in the season. They can now, at worst, they're 2-4. I don't see that happening. I definitely see them getting both wins over the Jaguars and Titans again. That gives them 4. Rodgers going to have to be on his game the entire season. He cannot have a slip up. His offense is good, but defense is lacking. Whereas, as Hurt mentioned, Randy's just got that offense and defense working perfectly. Yes, he gives up 31 points this week, but you look at last week, that's 3 points he gave up. He can lock you down at a point, and I know this point blank well because I had him completely on his back pedal trying to think about how the next season was going, only for his defense to lock me down and him steal the OMFL Bowl away from me just like that from his defensive gameplay. He definitely has the experience, and I definitely look to see him ride this wave of momentum through to being the AFC South champion.
I should have gave my predictions. AFC North, I got nipples in the Ravens. I think that defense is just superb. And if he stays plugged in, I think that'll be his division. I stake with y'all. I think all the comments are true. Kobe's just got a lot of life stuff happening. Nysonger's starting to gain some momentum and figure some pieces out. I think he will be able to build onto that into the next Madden cycle. Roger, man. He's going to put up tons of points. He's going to fly high. He's got to get that defense figured out. This is all about Randy and those Colts. Looking at the AFC East, we got Cincyberg and the Jets at 2-0, Boss Sniper and the Patriots at 1-1, Massimo and the Dolphins at 0-2, starting a rookie quarterback, and another bit of a head scratcher, and then Maniac and the Bills sort of murders row here to open up the season. The first 5 weeks are pretty brutal for him. Look for him to make a run, though. He's going to get it figured out. Trey, we're going to start with you. AFC East, who wins this one?
As much as I'd love to make this a 3-horse race, I think the 5-week stretch to start the season is going to put Maniac too far of a deficit. I think he'll make a run for a wild card spot, but I think it'll be too large of a gap for him to catch up to Cincy and the Jets, who I have winning this division. Loss will put a good run. He'll be a contender for a wild card spot, but Cincy's offense is just cooking way too much. When you're averaging 41 points a game, you can't make a mistake, because if you make a mistake, especially with not playing 15-minute quarters and we're playing shortened, that's not enough time. You get 28 minutes a game, I think. Because we've 7 minutes that we play on there,
I think we're are we 9 or 10?
9. So you get 40 minutes of gameplay at max.
Yeah.
If that's over a point a minute. If you are not averaging that with him, you're going to lose at this point.
Good point.
And you can't make those errors. And since he has a defensive style that he can make you make errors, that's just how he plays. And with his offense cooking, it's going to be impossible to make a mistake and win.
Point a minute. What a great stat for you to throw out. I'll save my comments for when I get to talk, but can anybody in this division play some defense, please? Big Hurt, you're kind of our defensive guru here. Who wins the AFC East?
Well, one thing I'll point out is typically you see the Jets at the bottom of points allowed, and he's leading the AFC East in points allowed right now. And then the crazy stat is he's also leading in points for, which is not a unheard of stat for the Jets or for Cincy. But like I said, it's crazy to think that he's leading this division in points allowed so far through 2 weeks. And it's not like he's doing it at like 35, 40 points, or he's averaging like, he's at 58 points allowed. You're damn near giving up 29 points a game. Like that's, quite a bit of points for, winning football. But again, like he puts up those points as the best of anybody. I think the Jets win this division since he's been there. He's the last 2 seasons. This division is wide open. I could see the Patriots, the Dolphins, the Bills, and the Jets all being playoff caliber teams. The Bills do have a tough stretch to figure some things out. The Dolphins had a tough team last year and made some changes in the offseason once again, as they did last year, but then had a rough season. Well, I think it's going to come down between the Jets and the Patriots for this season. The Bills and Maniac just have a really tough schedule. And then I think the Patriots with Rusty Starr and Danny McDimes, I think those are the guys that can just consistently throw the ball right now. And Maniac just feels like he can't really keep up with those type of statistics. And so there's a lot of pressure in this division. So I do think it's the Jets and the Patriots. I think the Jets come out on top. But I wouldn't be shocked if both teams make the playoffs. But I do have the Jets winning the East and returning to the playoffs.
Interesting division. I think all of these teams have played the murder's row of offenses, and I think we are seeing that increase in offensive production because of the skill positions. The gap, I think, is as wide as it usually gets in a cycle after progression between speed of receivers and speed of defensive players. And it looks like some of the top teams, they have the fastest defenses. Some of the lower teams just don't have enough speed to keep up. And I think that's also going to shift play calling. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot more zone this season to wrap up the cycle because of all that speed. I wonder if softball for Cincyberg in real life is going to fumble away the season that he's building upon. I don't know. I don't know if I know Cincy as intimately as Big Hurt does. The Patriots have some things figured out. They just got to get that defense figured out. Anytime the Dolphins are starting a rookie quarterback, that's going to put a speed bump in the way. And the Bills they've got to overcome their own sort of mental demons in this murder's row, get super hyper focused and push through. I do like the Jets to win this one. Be interesting to see what the Patriots can do though as we come down the stretch. AFC West, we're going to start with Big Hurt, and this one is we got a tied game so far, 42 each. You got Luka and the Chiefs off to a hot start, 2-0. The upstart Broncos surprised all of us with the number 1 seed last season. He's sitting at 1-1, and then you got Logan and the Chargers at 1-1, and then J Bows and the Raiders at 0-2. Big Hurt, who wins the AFC West?
This is a tough one because I think the Broncos' success kind of really put Jay Glaze back on the map, and he kind of always finds success late in a cycle. But Luka and the Chiefs have been chomping at the bit and just been like right there. And I think the Chiefs are starting to find some things. Offensively, they're putting up points. Defensively, this is another division that's just allowing a lot of points. But I think Luka's got the team. I think he's finally beat the Broncos this season to start it off early, which gives him a little confidence and a fast start. And typically it seems like he's always trying to finish strong and after a slow start or a hiccup early on. And so I think that's the key thing for me is this year he's not having that slow start. He's off to a 2-0 start and kind of leading the pack right now. It's still really early. The Broncos, the Chargers, I think could easily win this division. Um, I think the Raiders just they're still building a young squad, and I think they're kind of just maybe a step behind the other three teams. I think that the Chiefs do pull it out, but I would not be shocked to see if I saw the Broncos or the Chargers win the division. I wouldn't be shocked, but I think if I had to pick one team early on, based on what's already happened in the first 2 weeks and seeing the Chiefs and Luka early success and a little bit different tail of the tape, I have to go with the Chiefs right now.
Trey, who wins the AFC West?
It's going to be a close race. I definitely think that it's a 3-horse race. I just think the Raiders are just not there competitively with the roster. He's a great player. I feel that he's missing a few pieces to keep up. Luka has always had a hot start usually. It's usually towards the back half of the season, similar to Priest, where you get the hot start, but then you kind of slowly slide down the staircase. Jay Glaze was the shock of last season, I think, coming out as number 1 seed in the AFC. Fell just short of making it to the OMFL Bowl, so you can't rule him out of being a front runner in there. And then you have Logan, the Chargers, that they're seeming to find the offensive scoring. If you can find the defensive pieces to lock people down, he's going to be a challenge. And that's what I think is going to happen. I think Logan's going to find that defense fits how he wants to play, and that offense is going to give him enough of a leverage that he's going to start to make a run. I feel like it's going to be like a Week 18 win and you're number 1 in the division kind of scenario, and I feel like that will be where Logan ekes his way in this 3-horse race just to get that nose across the finish line if you want to talk about a horse race.
We've seen our fair share of those Week 18 games. We got a 47-46 lead for Mr. Trey. We're going to move over to the NFC. NFC North, you got Big Hurt and his Vikings at 2-0. Colin and the Bears at 2-0. Tim, geez, I do it every week. Tim and the Lions 0-2. I didn't do it when Trey wasn't around, but now he's around. I just keep fumbling it. And then Priest and the Packers sitting here at 0-1. We're going to start with you, Trey. Who wins the NFC North? Your old stomping grounds.
It doesn't help that my profile picture on Discord is a lion. I don't think. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting division. It's a 2-horse race. I think losing Amon-Ra St. Brown and all the puzzle pieces that he lost throughout the offseason just because of money restraints, I think that's hindering Tim. Priest is reverting to old Priest by the looks of it again, where he thinks he's a gunslinger. He's not. He's a ground and pounder, and get back to that, or else it's going to be back at the bottom of the league like he had been. But Hurt and Colin are 2 very talented people. I feel like this is going to be another one of those Week 18 win and you're in scenarios. I feel like he's got the puzzle pieces to win right now, but they're barely winning. I feel like that's going to be where Hurt takes the advantage. He's not going to be as close to games, so he doesn't have that chance to, a Hail Mary to lose the game. So I feel like Hurt will come out in the first, and then Colin will definitely be, maybe the 5th seed in the NFC come playoff time.
Big Hurt, how do you see your own division going, bud?
Yeah, this is a fun division to talk about, obviously, since I'm a part of it. But I would love to know that my team is in a place to win. I do see myself competing for a playoff spot. I've had a good first 2 games, but I look at those 2 games and just the struggles of Tim. I don't know if it was just like a big game matchup for him or whatnot. And then kind of the Eagles, I struggled early on offensively. I did kind of clamp things down in the second half, made some plays. I like to say that I'm playing good defense to do the right things, but I think for the big thing, Colin's team is just like when you look at the roster, top to bottom, he has a championship quality roster. He has the quarterback, the running back, multiple receivers, the offensive line. And then defensively, he's got the lockdown corner, the linebackers, the pass rush, and he's got speed everywhere. He's proven to be an OMFL Bowl champion this cycle. So I have to go with that as the kind of the edging pick for me is the Bears have just done it this cycle, and he's built that squad that's like rated wise on paper one of the best rated teams in the league. And Colin, when you give him that kind of a team and that quality of a team, he's a tough opponent. And I think last season, we played twice, and I think I beat him by 4 or 5 points, and he beat me by 2 points. So I don't expect much different. I expect our games to be close just because he plays me tough each time we play. But I think it's going to come down between the Vikings and the Bears. But just with the Bears roster and just the consistency play that Colin brings every week and the matchup problems that he gives every single team, knock on wood, Justin Jefferson has been hurt the last 2 years, right when I've been going into the playoffs. So I'm hoping I finally get a full season with him. But yeah, I got to go with the Bears, but I think the Bears and the Vikings are both playoff teams. I'm looking for Tim to bounce back. If Priest can get things together and not turn the ball over, we'll see what happens. But I think the Vikings and Bears are both, but I think the Bears win the division, and then I'll be a wild card team.
I like the Vikings to win this division. I like the defense, and that is what's making me lean that way. Now, listen, injuries could change that, could shake that up, but I think, Big Hurt, you're gaining your confidence. And when we've seen you go the furthest here, it is when you're playing outstanding defense, and clearly that is what you're doing. The Bears have had a couple of tough matchups here to open up the season, but he's still sitting at 2-0. Playing really good offense. The defense has been shaky in moments, but he's on a 2-game winning streak to open up the season. 1 away, 1 at home. I think he does have a championship caliber team, and he will be right there pushing this division to the very end. Anytime you hear the Lions are under a quarterback change, it just makes you pause and worry. Fargus has been the guy that has brought him all of the success. Sometimes I've seen it with Maniac, just the mix-up of quarterbacks is that mental reset. So we'll see what can happen there. And I completely agree with Trey's comments. When Priest is focused and running the ball, he is one of the most unbeatable players here. He just loves to sling it. And when he's slinging it, he's going to turn it over. Let's move to the NFC South, where we're going to start with Big Hurt, your old stomping grounds. You got Bird, the champion, Panthers at 1-1. My Saints are at 1-1. The Buccaneers are at 1-1, and Kevin. And then finally, Fleury is sitting at 0-2 after a tough matchup this week against Meek Boy. Hurt, how do you see this one playing out? Who wins the NFC South?
Well, I'm sure I'll get a laugh out of this, but what division isn't my old stomping grounds? But yeah, the NFC South is a division that I don't know why, but I get so drawn into this division each season. Bird, we've talked about it. He's just one of those guys. Like, he kind of the X's and O's, calls the right plays, just does everything, just makes you angry because you're like, are you like sitting here watching me call my plays? Are you knowing what I'm gonna do? And he just plays such solid, strategic, like sound football. And then you got you on the other hand that does the exact same thing. It's like, you call the play and you're like, oh, like I should have known that was coming. That's just the right play, the right time, the execution, and then you play such a good safety. I just think it's the lack of like overall or the talent when it comes to the Saints squad, and they really struggled right out of the box. But you built a team that's competitive, and I like what you have with your imports and your players. You just got a tough matchup because the Panthers were young and they built and they progressed pretty quickly. And then the Bucks, with Kevin back on track week 1, but then had a rough week 2. We'll see how things shake out there. And then Fleury's kind of scratching his head, trying to figure things out here this early season. And and not scoring a lot of points and giving up 61. I think I got to go with the OMFL Bowl champ, and it's just the Panthers, the way he runs the ball, the way he plays defense, this talent. But I do think, and I would like to see, and I've said it before, I think the Saints are on the verge of making some noise. If you can put it all together and just play clean football. Again, it's no surprise your team isn't loaded from a attribute or overall standpoint, but you just play the right pieces at the right time, call the right plays, right shots, and when you put it all together, a receiver like Hall or whatever his name is, the dude's like unstoppable. And then, I would like to see the Saints be in the mix, and I feel like it could happen. But I do have the Panthers winning the division.
I absolutely agree. Panthers continue to own this division. Flurry's a team that's going to get things turned around. And Kevin, as I've seen, he just popped up in chat. What's up, Kevo? One of the best offensive powerhouse coaches, but much like the Dolphins, much like the Lions, did a quarterback shift that was just interesting and head scratching for some of us. But sometimes that name being on the back of a different jersey is a mental reset and just allows him to reset. Trey, how do you see this one playing out? Who wins the NFC South?
It's going to be a close one, and it's one where the result is going to surprise a lot of people because this player, every OMFL site, the first, whatever amount you go, struggles and, third seed, fourth seed in the NFC South, but for whatever reason, you just put last season of cycle on their name, and they always seem to come out as the NFC South champion, Mr. Nate. I feel like it's going to be a close race, and I feel it's going to be, the Bucks, the Panthers, and Saints will have the same record. I just think that getting the upset win over D-Money and the rest of those factors of having a tougher schedule, I feel like Nate will be the division winner, but I feel like the records will be very, very similar. It'll give Nate the confidence that goes, "Oh, hey, I'm a competitive, I can be ready to go."
I appreciate it. Let's go ahead and look at the NFC East. This is going to be Trey's division, and boy, it's a tough one, man. We got Trey and the Commanders, one of the best team builders that the league has ever had here. Can play it all, offense, defense. Dwayne, one of the, if not arguably, I would say the most consistent player that we've ever had in the OMFL. Just sort of doesn't have as many trophies as I think he could have. Like, I'll just leave it at that. By far, hands down, most consistent coach I've ever seen. Bill and the Giants, man, when he's over there in New York, it takes him a bit to build. I think very similar to me, he just did it 3 years sooner. He did not have a great offensive team. He had pieces, but had to put the rest of the pieces together. And then finally, Twinkie, who you can see him in chat. He's frustrated, and I get it. He's got his franchise quarterback. Hopefully, he brings him over into the new franchise. He's going to have a great defense. I just think he needs to make quicker decisions with his team and let some of the older talent and more expensive talent walk. Hit on those draft picks, and then watching him play, when he sticks to running the ball and then building off of that, man, he's a really, really good player. I think the Cowboys win this division just because he's Mr. Steady Eddie, but Trey's going to make him earn it. Bill never gives up. He's going to fight him to the very end. Big Hurt, how do you see the NFC East breaking out?
I see this being a kind of a old school just dogfight, and I do think there's 3 teams that right now could compete. I just got done playing the Eagles, and I will say this, like, I don't know how that Eagles team is 0-2, and I don't know how he hasn't made the playoffs and made a name for himself, because he played really good football for like 3.5 quarters, and then it just seemed like one mistake here, he had an unfortunate fumble. And then it was like he felt like he had to throw the ball, and I gotta pick with the guy at the right place, right time on a defensive call, and it just kind of went downhill from there. But really the Eagles led that game for about 3 quarters. And so, yeah, I don't like, I look back and I'm like, man, the Eagles are one in a tough division with 3 other opponents that like have made themselves staples here in the OMFL, but he's got the toughest division ahead of him. But like, how has he not been there yet in the playoffs? Just mind blowing in a way. The Commanders, Trey, we know what you're capable of, and Cowboys and Dwayne has been there time and time again. It's almost just like expected for him to be a 1-2 seed. And then you got the Giants when Bill puts it together, like he can call a defensive game plan and scheme to the best of anybody. And he built such a strong defense to compete in this division. I'm going to have to stay with the Cowboys. The Cowboys just have the roster. Trey's, I think, still building that roster. He's made that roster, kind of flipped it in a very short period of time to be competitive. I do see the Commanders making the playoffs this year. Potentially all 3 Commanders, Cowboys, and Giants can make the playoffs. But I just think the Cowboys are going to be the team at the end. And it's just because Dwayne has built that squad from the first season this cycle, and it's just been consistent. And he doesn't like make any drastic changes. Like he might make a small change, but he keeps his core group there. He runs the ball, he plays good defense, and it's just, like kind of just old school, beat your head against the wall because you know it's coming, and he just continues to do it better than all of us. And so yeah, I got the Cowboys being at the top, but the Commanders and Giants pushing and possibly making and getting 3 teams in from the East this year.
Has to have the highest winning percentage in the history of the OMFL. Trey, how do you see your own division breaking through?
It's going to be a shootout. We were competitive for the first little while, but then injuries, lack of their talent for my team were holding me and Bill back. I think we're going to give Dwayne the biggest push for that spot that he's had in a good minute. Do I think we get it done? Personally, no, but I'm not going to say that I'm not going to find a way to pull out an upset or two and maybe take both games against him, given how close they were with a rookie quarterback they had. Now they have Jaden Daniels back there. So I have Dwayne winning, but I wouldn't be surprised if me and Bill are able to knock him down a few pegs off that little NFC East throne that he's been on for quite some time.
He has been up there for quite some time, but he doesn't mind shining some light on some of his fellow NFC brethren. Let's look at the NFC West. Meek and the Seahawks are 2-0. Joker and the Cardinals at 1-0. D-Money and the 49ers at 1-1. And poor Crazy B-Man and the Rams are at 0-1. Trey, you're going to wrap this one up before we go to the mailbag here. Give me your winning team here in the NFC West.
If you were to tell me, if we were to have Press Pass Live following immediately after week 1, I would have told you that this is a 2-horse race and that it's going to be between the Seahawks and Cardinals because it looked like he was still checked out. But week 2 showed a different light. It looks like he's back in his normal routine. So I think this is going to be a 3-horse race. It's going to be interesting to see how Meek and Joker deal with a seemingly check back in for one season, D-Money. And if D-Money is seemingly checked in, you have to give him, even though he's currently the 3rd seed in the division, you still got to go D-Money if he's checked in because he's just that dominant of a player. So for now, it's D-Money, but let's get some more confirmation to see if he's completely checked in or not.
Bird would give him a run for his money. The Jets would give them a run for their money. The Seahawks would give a run for their money. I know I'm leaving other teams out that I just haven't played, but the 49ers felt like the fastest, most athletic team I'd ever faced in the history since probably Penguins and those old Steelers teams 3 or 4 Maddens ago. I mean, he's just got 99 speed players on top of 99 speed players. Big Herd, how do you see the NFC West playing out?
Well, I can see there's going to be a lot of points scored. This might be one of the, along with the AFC East being one of the most high scoring divisions in the OMFL. Man, this is such a tough one because, like, Meek Boy kind of seemed like he found it, and then I played him in the first round and I was like, I had picked him to go to the MFL Bowl game, and I drew him first round, and then I just like got everything went my way in that first round playoff game. I think Joker's put himself in a position where he's been such a offensive, high scoring, potent offense, and then defensively he just plays where it just frustrates people, blitzing and the defensive lineman, and he's good at it, and it just like frustrates a lot of people and gets in your head that way. But then you got D Money, who just is D Money, like there's nothing else to say. That's D Money. And so, man, if I early on, what I'm gonna say is D Money seems like he's back. He's playing in week 2. He played a game. And if that's the D Money that we're gonna get, then I can't go any other way but to pick the Niners to win this division. And I could see all 3 of these teams making the playoffs. But again, if D Money's playing his games and we get the D Money that we saw week 2 instead of week 1, then I'm going to see the Niners winning. And I think he might have just figured out, like, hey, I got to play a certain way, or I got to, do something differently. But again, I would not be shocked to see the Seahawks, the Cardinals, or the Niners win this division. But early on, I'm going to go with the Niners.
That's our predictions here. I'd love to hear Maniac and D Wayne whenever they got time in chat or something. I don't know. I just miss those 2 guys being with us, giving their predictions. We haven't got to see D Wayne in some time. Life has kept him busy, and he's a busy dude. The guy does a little bit of everything. We got a 65-61 lead for Big Herd as we go into the mailbag. I'm going to hold you guys to a tight clock here. We got 2 questions from Colin. We got 2 questions from Joker. We got 1 from Nicesonger, 2 from Randy, 3 from Randy, 2 from Tim. So we got a bunch of questions here to get through. Let's see if we can't get through them here. Colin's going to get us going. He's going to say, which draft picks do you think will have the biggest impact in the OMFL next season? So I think he means this current season that we were in. What are some of the biggest rookies that you think will have the biggest impact? Trey, we're going to start with you, bud.
I think it's already shown prevalent. The biggest one is going to be my front runner for Offensive Rookie of the Year, given the offense he's in, and that's going to be Gary. I think it's Tyson from the Cardinals. You giving Joker a guy that likes to run, a lot of cross patterns with his offense, which benefits those speedy receivers. He's going to have that guy cooking to a point where we saw Quentin Copel be dominant his rookie year. There's potential that Tyson will smash everything Quentin Copeland did and make Quentin Copeland look like he was a petty little ant compared to what Gary Tyson's going to do.
Big Hurt.
Sorry, I'm over here dealing with my dog and everything else. Yeah, the draft pick that I have, I think I'm gonna go, and this might be a shock. I'm gonna go with the Eagles quarterback. I just played him, that's why I know. But I want to say it's Danny Dixon or something like that.
Best quarterback I've ever seen come out of the draft.
Oh, the dude is like a crazy good quarterback. And that's scary because you put him on the Eagles roster for next Madden, holy cow. This guy's got 97 speed, and he took off running, and he's 6'3", 215, 20 pounds. And I was like, Dude, that dude's huge. Like, how the hell is he running that fast? Like, I got decent speed linebackers, and this dude's just running away from my linebackers. And I was like, but he can throw the ball too. I think with a little progression, Danny Dixon could be a scary, scary OMFL piece for a couple seasons, and maybe all of next cycle. And I think if Twinkie stays engaged and doesn't get in his head and gets frustrated and whatnot, I think this guy is a huge building piece for him.
I absolutely agree. Colin says, which team do you think is a dark horse contender for season 115 OMFL Bowl? Big Hurt, we're going to start with you on this one.
Man, dark horse. That is a good question. I'm going to say the Steelers. I don't know if I would consider them a dark horse just because, like, Penguins is, I was about to say Bird, but he's flightless Bird is what I was thinking. But the Penguins with the Steelers, like, that's just a division where it's just a tough division, and I don't see him right now, but I've seen him like right there in the mix of things. So I think many people would probably see him as a dark horse. If I had to pick, like, this might sound crazy, but I think like the division leader, as I pick the Chiefs, like, I think that might be a dark horse if he puts it all together. And then this, I don't even know if I could say a dark horse in the Commanders, but like, just because of what Trey's done in the past and like his ability to call a game, call the right plays, be really good mistakes. I think if the Commanders could be that next NFC team that gets a wild card and then just makes a run, and everything kind of plays out the right way, the Commanders could be a dark horse. Just because of Trey and who he is, but I could see that being probably my favorite of those three teams that I mentioned.
Trey, I'm not sure he left you any dark horses out there, but pick a pale gray horse maybe.
Going roster wise, it would definitely be, as Hurt was saying, we mentioned me, because I still don't have a roster that should be competitive. How I do it, that's just a compliment to me, but here nor there. But my dark horse as a team, I think a lot of people could be shocked, and this goes with the pick of who I think is going to be offensive rookie of the year. I think Gary Tyson's going to provide enough of a game-changing influence in the game that I could see Joker and the Cardinals pulling a lot of upsets over teams that just don't have the capability to cover his scheme, because you've got three receivers, I think, with 97 speed plus. That's hard to defend because you don't get many corners that match up with that. And then if you get the unfortunate aspect of getting a linebacker matched up over them, you're almost giving up a guaranteed touchdown at that point, because there ain't no linebacker that's going to run down the field with those guys when it comes step for step.
That was going to be my dark horse as well. I think Joker is a definite real dark horse there in the NFC and to go all the way. Joker's question, who's going to be first to last and last to first in the NFC and AFC? I'm going to keep us to a little bit stricter because I feel like that could go a long way. Sorry, fellas, if y'all can't separate your questions, I'm going to give you 1 point. So sorry, Joker. I like, we can't put 9 questions in one post. Anyway, pick an NFC, pick an AFC, pick a first to last or a last to first. That's a tough question, but Trey, we're going to start with you on that one.
I guess the NFC, you've got to go D-Money. He was, I think, last in his division last year.
I think technically that's right.
So I guess that's like the easy, here, let me give you a pitch shot that goes in the hole. AFC, I don't really know if there is one. I guess maybe Koch could, if he keeps his momentum going and finds his footing again, because he's always been a good player. I guess that's the AFC representative. That's really, it's hard to say, because a lot of the guys that usually finish last aren't finding their momentum in the OMFL cycle to kind of go from first to last, or last to first.
Big Hurt.
Well, I would say for my AFC, if it was 2 weeks ago at the start of this season, I would have said either the Bengals or the Dolphins. But right now, after 2 weeks, I would have to probably say, probably I'd probably go with the Bengals just because I think if he can gain traction, he's proven to be there before, and that division's kind of beats up on each other, and he's the buddy bull, like it can go either way. I just think Massimo's in a division where, with Cincy and Maniac and Lost Sniper, just a little bit too much for him to overcome. But I think those would be the two teams in the AFC that I would have probably been like highlighting as first or last to first or whatever. In the NFC, I would have to say my own division. The Packers would be the one team. If he can put it all together, the dude always leads the league or is high in the league in sacks with Lucas Van Ness. He runs the ball. He passes the ball pretty well. It's just the amount of turnovers that takes him out of the game, and he gets in his own head. I just think if he could put it all together and just limit the turnovers, I think he would see a lot of success. But I think that's just like him being Priest, and that's just kind of how he developed himself. But I would say Priest for the NFC would probably be my one last to first.
I like this question from Joker. Who's going to be the upset king of the season? Meaning, who's going to pull off the most upset wins? That's a fun question. And I think if I had to pick somebody, I think it's going to be Mr. Kevin and those Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He'll figure it out, even with a rookie quarterback. He's got lots of skilled position players. Big Heart, we're going to start with you. Who's going to be your upset king of season 115?
Looking at records right now and teams that are probably behind the 8 ball and going to be in an upset status, I mean, Kobe, Maniac, who's the other one? I was just looking at I was in the Packers for the NFC. I'd have to say for me, right now, if I had to pick one team, it'd be Maniac, just because I know like he's a playoff caliber, OMFL Bowl caliber owner. I just think he's kind of like struggling and not really confident in his team, and like he's got a tough schedule. But I think he also plays to like his opponent. So when he plays some of those top end guys, he's going to play good football, and he's going to get some chances to have some big upsets. So I'd have to say the Bills would probably be my one right now to probably be the upset king.
Trey, upset king.
You're not going to like this because it's pointing out some stuff, but unfortunately, Nate, that crown falls on your head. I think a lot more people would expect you to be winners in, and you've already got a head start on it. You upset D-Money. That's the game that you've openly said you normally don't win. The fact that you pulled out the victory in that one's already got you on the front run to go with it, get that upset crown, in my opinion. You got games versus the Broncos. You got games versus the Ravens, the Chargers, the Commanders, the Seahawks. Your division, you have multiple games against, and still a Lions team that is up there and teams that can be considered a top-end team. He just has to find his footing. All those games are games that you would look at and say that you're not the favorite to win, and you've proven already this season. Even though you're not the favorite to win, you can still pull out the win if you get the right game plan going.
Yep, I think it's definitely Murder's Row coming up for me. Good question from Joker. I really like that one, Mr. Joker. Nice Songer says, what do you think will be the position most imported from this Madden? That's a really good question, because my gut wants to sort of say quarterbacks, but we had such a real life run on quarterbacks last Madden or last NFL draft, not this past one, but the one before, which bled into this Madden. I think a lot of teams like yours, Trey, right, has a lot of rookie quarterbacks that they want to build off of. So to be interesting, my gut says cornerback, but Trey, we're going to start with you. What do you think is going to be the most important position this Madden?
You're going quarterback, and I'm going to counteract it and say I'm going wide receiver because there was a lot of talent through the last two drafts that I've been here for that I feel like are going to get imported. I have a guy that, I have two corners, yes, that I'm potentially leaning towards bringing, but I also have two wide receivers that, should they progress really well this season, both being superstar developments, I very well could look and go, oh, well, hey, the Commanders, you have Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel. They're kind of up there in age. I can go bring in two young guys that can continue their career along lines and have potentially the ability to move Deebo early in the cycle and not have to eat that contract. I feel like just wide receivers is going to be a key play, and it's going to surprise a lot of people about how many people come across the cycle. I think for sure. I think I already know Joker's bringing Gary Tyson. I just feel like that's a given at this point.
Big Hurt.
For me, I think it's going to be quarterback. I think defensive back, cornerback's going to be right there as well. But I think a lot of guys are potentially looking at quarterback just to get the guy. And the reason I say that is, that's the recipe for success in a lot of people's eyes, just because of money. Quarterback's a very expensive position, and when you bring a quarterback on a rookie contract, especially like a guy that's been drafted 1 or 2 seasons and whatnot, you can, not have to worry about the money for 2-3 seasons into the first or into that new cycle. So with that being said, I think corner, there's a lot of corners, and that's also the way a lot of people look at is like, what's the first position? Get the lockdown corner. But there's a lot of teams that I think are looking at bringing quarterbacks. I know the Raiders have talked about it. The Jets, times, Star, I potentially might be bringing a guy. So be interesting to see, but I'd have to go quarterback.
Yeah, there's so many young OMFL quarterbacks who are really built up. I think that's a great point by you. And there's the balance of, I think we do see some really high-end young quarterbacks not come over because of the contract situation. And it made me smile a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit, to see that D-Money had 2 big-time players get paid big-time money. One of those he's going to have to deal with, one he's fine with. Here's a good question from Randy. Can you think back to any drafts where you had an opportunity to draft a player, you went a different direction, and they turned into a superstar for someone else's team? I can't think of any for mine right off the top of my head. I'm sure there's so many drafts I've been through that there is somebody out there. I would say I've seen a handful of players, like we all have, of like, man, if that player gets to me one more pick away, one more, and then they pick right before you, they take the player, and then you watch them blossom into somebody great. Like, we've all had that circumstance happen. Starting with you, Big Hurt, any guys that you've seen that you decided, I'm going to go this other direction, and then they ended up turning to be a superstar?
Yes, multiple times. Ricky Scioli for the Niners. He also took a running back. I can't remember his name. I think he traded him.
He did.
The really, really big, fast running back that I can't remember. I think he went to the Jaguars is where he went. Sergio Scarborough. That was another guy that I had on my list. The Bears took a receiver right out from me. I was trying to think of there was another receiver, McCullough. I actually went a different direction. Randy got Devin McCullough, who's now a 95, just 6'5", 230 pound, just beast at 23 years old. So yeah, There's a lot of guys that that I can look back and I'm like, oh, maybe I should have went with that guy. But that's not. I will own it. I am not a good draft person. I don't know what it is. I just don't have the right eye like some of these guys in this league. I don't know if I'm doing the wrong homework or if I just don't know what I'm looking at. But like I look at like the Bengals and this dude drafts like 85, 90 overall rookies that are
Offensive
like
lineman,
playing
yeah.
corner, offensive linemen, and like 90 plus speed linebackers. And I'm like, how did you find that guy? Like,
I agree.
so yeah, there's just, there's multiple guys that I see and I'm like, oh, if I would have just picked that guy when I read it instead of like overthinking it and only gone a different direction, like that could have changed my team. So
I'm with you. I overthink it too. And yeah, some of those guys just have an eye, and I wish I could learn the secret. The last two Madden cycles have been a rough draft opportunity for me. Trey, what do you think?
I can't think of anyone I normally would go that I wish I would have drafted. I tend to be the guy that everybody, messages me later. It's like, how the heck did you make that guy good? So I'm kind of the one that does the making of a superstar, not get the superstar made from. So I can't openly go out there, but I've had quite a few messages, and I peeked in the mailbag a little bit. You'll find out more to the depth of this question with the next question.
Yeah, Randy says, who's the best imported drafted player you've ever seen in the OMFL? Two comes to mind. One is super recency bias. I think that player that I'd say three. Two are recency bias. Twinkies quarterback that he just got, Dickinson. And that kid he literally does it all. And just a regular Madden imported or Madden created draft. I really like Joe Duke. I thought, again, interesting to see Miami sit him. I didn't need a quarterback or I would have traded for him. Like, the kid could do it all, literally everything. I've seen some great ones, but I've seen some great. I'm reading this question from the moment that they were drafted, not what did they turn into. Trey's got some great ones. Big Hurt had some really good ones. I think if I remember correctly, I was a big receiver back in the day. I would also say they're back in Madden, whatever that was, 07, 08, 09, whichever one that was, where there were only 5 draft class and they were all the same. And so you could find out about draft class by asking about some of the top players in other leagues. I drafted a guy that was the John Elway prototype. And this guy literally was
English?
Jack English. There you go. You can find old videos on our YouTube channel. If you search the oldest videos we have from Jack English, that guy could literally do it all. By far, my first or second favorite Madden drafted Saints player I've ever had. I had a linebacker way back in the PC days, like 03, I think it was, that he was just an absolute stud. Don't even remember his name. That's how long ago that was. But Jack English was a ton of fun. Big Hurt, I'm coming to you first. Who's the best imported / drafted player you've ever seen in the OMFL?
Well, I'm gonna have to stick with the best drafted player as of recent. I'm gonna go straight to Danny Dixon, the guy, the Eagles. Like I said, fresh in my mind because I just got done playing him, and I was like, holy shit, I would have loved to have that guy. He's got the cannon, he can run, and he's just like the perfect Madden player for a quarterback. But a couple guys stand out to me, and one of them is Adrian Shepard, the corner for the Bills. The guy's just been crazy good, lockdown defender. I think he was drafted as a safety or corner or something, DB, and he's played in like 3 cycles. But it's just, he's been a really good player for Maniac. And then the other one, this is going back, and I can't even think of the guy's name, but the linebacker for the Jaguars.
It's in the chat. Kratos.
Kratos, yes. That dude was probably one of the craziest, like,
longest lasting
careers.
import ever, too. 3 cycles in a row.
Yeah, like that dude though, like just the longest most impactful OMFL career that I've ever seen out of somebody. And not to mention, it wasn't like, oh, he's good. Like, he was insanely good.
Yeah.
And then you put him with, who was the owner that had the Jags?
Brady.
Who? Oh, Brady. Yeah, and then Brady, the way he usered him was just like, ugh, like you couldn't throw the ball, you couldn't run the ball. That dude just made every play, big hit, interception.
The guy that created
like,
all of
between the
our roaming
hashes.
rules.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was like between the numbers, and most people talk about between the hashes. It was like, don't even throw between the numbers, because like if you threw between the numbers, it was Kratos' football. Like, it was just crazy.
Trey?
In terms of best drafted, yeah, it's Danny Dixon. That I said it when we were previewing the draft that I felt like he was going. I didn't think that Twinkie was going to pull the trigger on him, but he did, and I projected that guy was going to be the game changer of the draft. And on paper, he is. Twinkie's just got to find the right way to use him. In terms of imported, we're going into the Madden 26 cycle, and everybody's talking about how EA is going to get Travis Hunter working with, playing corner and wide receiver. If we rewind a couple Madden cycles back, I jumped the gun on this nonsense. I drafted safety Doug Glenn.
Stupid.
With a normal dev.
Yep.
By the end of the season, he was X Factor because he was just ridiculous. I had him playing safety. I had him playing corner. I had him even playing running back for my team with just a sub package in there. And yeah, he became very much an annoying person that I constantly had Nate messaging me going, yeah, that's kind of borderline against our rules, but it's not. So let's just tone it down a little bit. Using him as a running back in the Wildcat packages that I had, and then just watching him get interception after interception after interception. It was like I didn't have to worry about the right side of the field because the right side of the field was locked down.
Yeah, Doug Glenn.
Did you have a fullback too in that like same time frame?
I always have a fullback, just stick it to Nate.
Doesn't stick it to me. I love fullbacks. I just think it's hilarious. Doug Glenn, by far one of the best stories in the OMFL, and arguably the second best import player we've ever seen, at least since we've been remaking the history here since 2017, I think is when I took the history tracking back. And we lost a bunch of years because PC, no one thought we'd be around 20 whatever years we are. So like no one kept history. And then PS3, PS4 days, I let somebody else track the history, and they never gave it to me. So I started tracking the history. Doug Glenn, one of the best players that we have ever seen. Let's go to the next question for Mr. Randy. Let's say we had an OMFL Bowl nationally televised on ESPN. You get to player script writer to put the best matchup on display for the world to see. Who's on commentary and what two teams' owners are playing? This could be a very long question. I want you guys to try to keep this one as short as you possibly can. What two teams or owners are you playing against each other? Man, if the league was made up as it is today, and it hasn't always been, my gut would say Dwayne versus D Money. But if it was made up as it is today, we wouldn't be able to have that matchup. So I would say Dwayne, man, I don't know. There's a plethora of fun guys over there that would be fun to watch. Give me Dwayne versus Nipples. Might not be the super cleanest FPR game that we've ever seen, but boy, it's going to be entertaining. You're going to see crazy big plays on offense and defense. We're going to see a lot of scoring, and then just give me any of the guys on commentary. I love all these guys. I think they're great. I think we have a ton of fun. Trey, we're going to come to you first. You're down by, what are you down by? You're down by 4 here. The winner of this gets 2 bonus points as we go into our last question of the night in here just a few minutes. So, Trey, who's your matchup?
All right. So I'm looking at this, trying to pick this apart. I have this perfectly figured out of how I want to do this. We're going to have D Money with his Niner squad. We're going to have Penguins with his Steeler squad. on color commentary, we're gonna get Maniac. On play-by-play, we're gonna get Nate, and our on-the-field analysts, we're gonna have me and Hurt.
I dig it. Big Hurt.
This is such a just
It's a
off
fun
the
question.
wall question. Man, matchup wise, I'm gonna go outside the box, and I'm gonna say matchup wise, just of what I've seen as of late, I'm gonna say I'm gonna go Bears with Colin versus Cincy and the Jets, because I feel like both teams offensively can air it out. They don't really like to run the ball, but they quietly run the ball efficiently. They defensively put a lot of stress because they have such good secondaries. But at the same time, like in today's world, you want to see points scored, and these two offenses can score a lot of points and entertain the viewing community. I would say for the commentary, I'm going to say, Nate, you're going to do your play-by-play. I think you're the best at that. And then I just think, for shits and giggles, I'm going to have D. Wayne with about 6 drinks in him.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to have, Trey, Maniac, and I chiming in, but then kind of you and D. Wayne running the show. But I just think D. Wayne has to have those drinks so he can just let it flow. He doesn't think about it. He just lets it flow.
I got something that might top. Something that might top my idea. We have a separate Manning cast of Drunk Wayne. We have Priest, and we have Nips.
High Priest, Drunk Wayne, and Nips just being Nips.
Nips probably
a combination of both. I was gonna say that I think that's a better suggestion.
Here we go.
I was gonna say Randy as a McAfee style guy, not. I think I love Trey's suggestion. Just add Randy as a McAfee style, but now the idea of the real McAfee, who's probably high and drunk on every single show that he does, with a combination of Nipples, Priest, and D. Wayne
but
all
Nipples
together.
Has to be in Spanish.
Oh,
Nipples has to be in Spanish.
Oh, this is getting ridiculous. This would be amazing. We got to make it happen, ESPN. Tim says, which import are you happy you won't have to face anymore? We need to wrap this up. It's 11:20. This show way too long. Which import are you happy you won't face anymore? I don't know, because I don't know who's not going to bring imports. I would think of my division. That's the guys I face the most. Nobody's really coming to mind. Bucks have a great running back. Falcons have a great team. They have a great cornerback I'd love to not face anymore. And the freaking stupid Panthers have great everything. Their linebackers and defensive line are just stupid athletic. Any of them coming to mind for you? Starting with you, Big Hurt.
Shepard from the Bills. That dude's done. He's too old. I know Maniac's not gonna bring him over money wise, but I've played that dude a handful of times this cycle. And it's like that dude, I think, averages like 2 or 3 picks against me per game. Frustrates me, just locks down Justin Jefferson. Or at the time, I think I played him one time when I still had the Falcons. And it was just, I was frustrated to beyond a belief. So, yeah, I would say not maybe in my division, but just knowing that if I have to face Maniac, he won't have that corner to just give me fits.
Trey.
Personally, I'm going to experience it later this season, but I already don't want to play against Bruce Ross and my in the corner I drafted that Tim has brought along. I'm just blanking on his name because I'm excited after the thought process of ESPN putting us on air. We'd be perfect for ESPN 8. I'm saying, put us on the Ocho. We'll cover it.
Yes, we would be.
But in terms, I have one it's not an import, but it's a real life player that I'm excited it's going to get debuffed for hopefully longer than a season, and that's defensive end Sam Williams for Mr. Wayne, because having him and Parsons is just too much of a headache, and I'm looking forward to not having two headaches on the field at the same time for hopefully more than one season.
I hope some of those 49ers players get buffed as well. Tim has a great question to wrap us up, and then we'll get to my ultimate showdown question. We got a 93-88 lead for Big Hurt. So wrapping this one up, first going with Trey. Now Bird has joined the list of OMFL championship owners. Who is the next to get their first championship? I think that's a great one. Trey, what do you think?
I think the one that has the closest potential to do that, and he just needs to get out of his head come playoff time because he's a great regular season player. I think it's Meek. Mm-hmm. I think Meek's the closest. He's there every year. You talk about Wayne being consistent as a division leader. Meek isn't consistent as a division wild card. You can almost at the start of each season go, okay, you have Wayne, you have usually, if he's checked in, D-Money as your division leader, and then you have Meek there. He can, hop, skip, and jump with. He can hop, skip, and jump with D-Money. He's given D-Money by far the biggest fits in my time being around in terms of the division. But I feel like he's just got to find that thing in when it comes playoff time. It seems like he over pressurizes himself and starts to make the panic plays because he feels like he can't make a mistake or else he's going to lose. And then he ends up making those mistakes by putting too much on himself. So if he can figure that out, I feel like he's definitely always going to be a contender to get that first championship out of the way.
Man, there's so many owners that just sort of come to mind. But what do you think, Big Hurt?
I was going to say Meek Boy until I played him in the last season in the first round. I picked him to go to the OMFL Bowl last year when we were talking playoffs and, predicting whatnot, the playoff picture and everything like that. And he just kind of proved me that playoffs are just not his thing. Like the dude was like 13-4, I think, or whatnot when I played him. And he just I don't know what it was. It's just like he... Kind of like what Trey just said, he overpressurizes himself, or the moment's too big, or he just changes his game. I don't know what the answer is, but Meek Boy is the closest. But I think the guy that's sneaky and right behind him, and I think if he gets his opportunity, I think he will capitalize on it. Whereas Meek Boy's had his opportunities and has failed. Is a guy in the same division, and it's Joker. I think if Joker gets his opportunity, I think Joker could easily right now. There might be some FPR with the blitzing or the user and things, and not be, the most liked. But at the same time, the guy is good, and he's a good user. He does things that he puts people in a hard position. When you're defensively, and then when he's on offense, he can score points. And so I think, like I said, if he gets his opportunity and he gets into the playoffs, I think he could easily make that run. The Colin run, the Bird run that we've seen, the Bill run, that we've seen this cycle. I think Joker might be the guy. I've been leaning towards Meek, but I just think Meek's had his opportunities, and I don't know. The moment's just not his or whatever. So I think for me right now, I'd have to say it's Joker and the Cardinals.
I like Beal. I like Lost, but the question was who's the next? And I think there's probably only two realistic options. I mean, anybody could shock me, but Jay Glaze and the Broncos and Logan and the Chargers would probably be some of my top choices there. All right, coming into our final question, this round, everything resets. The one who won the whole round gets the 2 bonus point head start, and that's going to be Big Hurt. Here's the question, Big Hurt, we're going to start with you before we toss it to Trey to see if he can make the comeback. Should the last season of every cycle, that champion, should they receive an asterisk next to their name because of all of the vacations and summertime and just checked out owners, should that last cycle season championship owner receive an asterisk? Big Hurt, get us started.
I say no, because there's still teams like Dwayne who never checks himself out. There's several other players or owners here that don't check themselves out. Maybe you might get an easier game in the first round, but once you get to that second, third round of the playoffs, you're still having to go through Dwayne. You're still having to go through Denver. You're still having to go through Cincy. You're still having to go through D Money if he's engaged. You're still having to go through Bird. You're still Colin. There's the list is deep. So you might see a team sneak into the playoffs that you might not see or might not think because of some vacation stuff or some lack of engagement. So you might see oh, I didn't see that guy making the playoffs, and you kind of chalk it up to being the lack of engagement, or these guys really weren't playing their games, or these guys had a few more sims because of vacations or whatever. But as far as putting an asterisk on a championship, that's hard for me to say, because you did all the work to get to the championship. And again, you still had to win, not just to get into the playoffs, but you had to win the playoffs. And in the playoffs, there are teams that play this OMFL cycle from start to finish. And like I said, I listed some of those guys. Those are guys that are consistently always there, whether it's the first season or the middle of the cycle or the end of the cycle. And I know for me, I get busier, but my mindset doesn't change from the first season to the fifth season. And I know Dwayne, and there's a handful of Trey, Bill, lots of guys. And then I could go through half the league here. We might get busier, but our mindset doesn't change. So I don't think an asterisk is the right go route about that.
Trey, you're down by 5. Make your point.
I think actually players should get bonus points, because we know Madden. The EA has not done a great job as of years. So the fact that, by the time we get to that final season, we're 8 months deep of having to deal with all the bad gameplay, adjusting of sliders, this, that, and the other thing that we always have to deal with because EA makes this update or that update. So the fact that you're still checked in and playing is that you should actually get bonus credit for it, because yes, a lot of people go on vacations to get time with their family, but the fact that people that are still here playing let's be real, not a great game, and still wanting to play it through the cycle, and then when you get to the playoffs, like Hurt mentioned, there's still guys that are really talented that are still checked in. You got guys like me, you got guys like Hurt, you got guys like Wayne, you got Denver, you got et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many names you can put out there that still stay in. You're not losing the big names that would go, okay, the entire thing's changed. You maybe lose one or two really big names that you expect in the playoff run, but that's one or two names. That doesn't change the thing. You've gone on the run where I think it was the final season, and you still had to run through both Wayne and D Money in your run to the bowl. So I feel like if you're still checked in at this point and wanting to play every game, it's almost a bonus points to you, because it can be a very mentally challenging process to sit there game after game after game, and you never really know if you're going to have the players play how they should, or if you're going to get the game where EA goes, not today, and you have guys doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing. So if you stay check in through the entire amount and you're playing the last season and you make that run and you win the championship, I feel you should get bonus points instead of getting an asterisk beside your name because of people not being around.
We had a tie last round there, both of you with some really good points. I got to start being tougher with these points. I'm going to default to the guy who won the whole thing, 94-91. Big Hurt, close us out with your final thought. You got 1 minute. The floor is yours.
Well, we are in our final season. Let's make sure we play our games as we just talked about. Let's not have either bonus points or asterisks being talked about. Let's just play this season like it's our first season Trey brings up a good point. There's a lot of things that are out of our control. Nate, and the crew, we always talk about that each and every week. We try to put this game in, but let's remember why we are here. We're here to play the game. We're here to have fun. And I know for me, you guys heard it from me at the beginning of the show, work's been crazy for me. So this is my getaway. I'm just glad to be playing games once again. And just a little side note, I'm coaching football and we're on a traveling team. We're actually playing an arena indoor team, professional team for their exhibition game this Saturday. And we're looking forward to it. So this is what drives me to stay engaged is, the community. And one last side note, Nate, you're going to like this. I've already been approached about a team trade for Madden 26. And guess what? Probably not happening. Staying with the Vikings.
There you have it, Trey and Big Hurt. Thank you for making time for me on a Monday. What a fun show, a long show. We went 2 hours. I thought this was going to be a fast one. These prediction shows never go fast. I got to get quicker on the clock. I got to give out less points, but we're having fun, and that's all that matters. I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Enjoy season 115. I need to go to bed. It's been a long day, and I got a long one again tomorrow. Big Hurt's had a long day. Trey's everybody's had a long day, but I appreciate you. Take care of yourselves. Take care of those around you. Know that you matter. I love you, and I can't wait to see you. Come hang out with me tomorrow. I'm playing Roger in the college league. It's going to be a ton of fun. Till then, take care of yourselves. God bless.
Deuces.
Smash that like and subscribe.